Yeah, so Mario, let's preview the Acapulco final. Tomas Macháč against Alejandro Davidovich Fokina. One of them will claim their first ATP 500 title, also their first ATP Tour title because they haven't won one yet. So, I don't think we were expecting this final lineup necessarily when the week began, right?
Yeah, not really, because of course Acapulco had quite a strong field. So there were many great players. Also, there are top 10 players in there. Of course, it's been a bit weird as a tournament, especially mid tournament, where there's been Paul and Ruud withdrawing, and also Rune, probably other couple players suffering still with all that stomach issue and playing anyway. It's been a bit weird in that moment, but overall I feel like the field was still pretty strong in the tournament. Indeed, we've had two players who have started the season very well, especially Davidovich has already played a final. Of course, we know how it went. It's been a big disappointment for him, with that big lead and match points over Kecmanovic in Derry Beach. He's shown probably signs of mentally some scar tissue from that week this week, but overall he still managed to to push through, to overcome all the tough moments that he had both in the first two matches. I was, for example, scared a bit in the second match against Tiafo, the third set, but did well overall yesterday as well. So I would say that it's been a very good week for him to kind of forget what happened in the Beach, even though we'll see what happened in this other final. And Machac as well. I mean, probably we're talking about probably two of the two best players right now without an ATP title, probably. At least considering the tennis landscape right now. So it feels fair that one of them is winning one for sure this week, because we're talking about two very good players.
Yeah, but like Machac, in terms of his main tour success, he's kind of the new kid on the block here, right? Davidovich Fokina, he's been talked about as this massive talent for ages. Why doesn't he have an ATP title? In fact, why does he only have one ATP final, even if it was a massive final, ATP 1000? And then last year he falls off to like 60 something in the rankings. Now, as you mentioned, Delray Beach this week. I mean, he's actually kind of the escape artist instead of the opponents, because he saved 4 consecutive match points against Bellucci. Then, of course, also yesterday, Shapovalov served for both sets, I think. But as you mentioned, there was also that match where he kind of lets a lead slip against Frances Tiafoe. So, do you think there's a lot more pressure on him here simply because that saga that, for Machac, it's not really a saga yet of him trying to get an ATP Tour title. He had one final, but it's not like he's been at this forever and trying to do this for ages. Whereas for Davidovich Fokina, how much pressure do you think that adds? That for a few years now we're talking about him as this player who totally should have an ATP Tour title.
Yeah, I think the pressure is definitely there for both, because for both it's still a great chance, because we've talked about how both are great players, but still I feel like it's a chance for both to face the other in a 500 final. So I would still say that both will have kind of a lot of pressure. But yeah, you're definitely right that Davidovich, for his history on tour, it's been now years that he's been regularly playing on tour, and especially now that he started collecting finals. Yeah, I think for sure the pressure will be huge for him to try to grab a title, because we've seen, for example, Tsitsipas, he won a 500 tournament this week, and he had lost 11 finals against which kind of opponents. So it may not happen again for such a big chance for Davidovich and for Machac as well to get such a, let's say, also prestigious title, because Acapulco has a very good list of winners as well. So, well, I think, for both, but yeah, for Davidovich especially because of what you said, his history on tour for the past 4 or 5 years.
Is it fair to say though that Machac has played better tennis, better opponents this week? He only dropped one set against, two sets actually against Menchik in the opening round, also against Nakashima in the semis. feels like, generally the level has been a bit higher. Obviously, he hasn't had to face these sort of issues like Davidovich Fokina, like 4 consecutive match points. And I mean, he's been firing this week, right?
Yeah, I mean, there have been couple moments here and there where the level dropped just a little bit, but overall the level has been very high. It seems like the conditions are perfectly fine also for his tennis, for the way he likes to control the ball, the rallies, that sort of controlled aggression that he can express also gives him more time also to finish the point a bit better. And so yeah, that's why I see him actually as the slight favorite in this one. Also because of the kind of peak level that he showed he can reach. I feel like it's quite high, at least for what we have seen in the past months. And but of course, we've seen Davidovich beating very strong players. They also have a recent meeting in Shanghai, and Davidovich could have won that one. He was 6-1, 3-1 up, and 3-love up also in the deciding set. So especially in Shanghai, which has been a very good tournament for Machac and not very good as a season 2024 for Davidovich. So maybe this shows that Davidovich can have chances if he plays his tennis in the way he can. But yeah, I see Machac as the slight favorite in this one. I have a feeling he will grab this title.
Yeah, considering what Machac was doing later in the fortnight in Shanghai, beating Alcaraz, playing a very decent match with Sinner, this match against Davidovich Fokina is definitely now, like, forgotten about. Nobody remembers that something like that happened. But indeed, he lost the opening set 1-6, 7-6 in the second set, 6-4 in the third. Was very close. Definitely two players who have this very natural way of playing the game. They are very pure tennis talents. Machac, especially when you watch him on this court. I was actually thinking that these evening Acapulco slower conditions will be a little tougher for him. But no, as you said, I think he's been excellent at the net, and you kind of have to find a way of wrapping up the points here. The backhand has been just absolutely spot on the entire week, which is kind of common for him. But in Shanghai, I remember some people were freaking out about his forehand, which he was just
Forehand
jumping,
against
blasting
Alcaraz.
it 130 kilometers an hour every single shot. But to the seasoned watchers of Tomas Machac like myself, I was like, yeah, okay, but he's risking a lot. The backhand is the actual money maker, the actual bread and butter shot. It's definitely been like this week. Lots of just intelligent play from him too, and yeah, as I said, just unreal talent really from both players. But probably Machac has shown more of that this week. Something that I've been looking at the last few months and kind of always surprised by is, I'm sure you're familiar with the ELO ratings on Tennis
Yeah, sure.
Abstract and kind of how it works. So
Yeah.
basically it's only based on who you beat and who you lose to. Doesn't matter which round, which tournament and stuff. And Tomas Machac has been more or less on the verge of the top 10 there for the last few months. Right now, I think he's at number 10. So what's your opinion on that? Is that too high? Is that too low? I'm not asking if the ELO calculation is correct, because obviously that's just a mathematical algorithm. That's something that the system does, and that's what it is. But is Tomas Machac at his peak right now, a top 10-ish player?
Probably, I read that ranking. I know, of course, how it works, but I'm talking about how I read it. I read it like if I just face in any given day a player, how dangerous that player can be right now. And, I feel like, regardless of, the ranking and where he has been able to collect or not collect points, uh, talking about tennis and how dangerous he has been as an opponent, he's kind of been quite close to that. Then, of course, we know that in tennis, it's kind of a different story if you want to be a top 10 player. Uh, but yeah, I mean, it's not something that it's really, really shocking for me. Probably I'm more surprised in that ranking, even if it's not about this final. And Draper is ranked 12th. I'm more surprised to see him. I think it's like sixth or fifth in that one. 10 is abstract. That's where I think you read it as well.
Yeah.
I feel like 10, even if it's 11, 12, can be a a good spot for Machac in terms of that sort of ranking. Then, of course, if we want to talk about a top 10 player, probably we also need a bit more consistency in of course in the big tournaments in the world.
So what do you think has stopped his like regular ranking from ascending as high as his elo is?
uh I mean, let's say that probably he's still a player who suffers from some big ups and downs in some moments. Or yeah, I mean, for example, for sure credits to, of course, Novak Djokovic, but that match at the Australian Open, I thought it could have been more of a challenge for Djokovic. I was a bit disappointed, actually, I have to be honest, to see Machac not really being able to be dangerous in that match. Uh, Probably, let's say that if the peak tennis, the peak Macháč tennis has reached that level, of course, if you want to be a top 10 player, you also need that your, let's say, the tennis you express in your, let's say, bad or not brilliant days needs also to kind of get a bit closer to your top level if you want to be a top 10 player. Making an example, Alex de Minaur, he has become a top 10 player once, even in the days where most things don't really work in the way he wants. He's still able to show a level of tennis that keeps him alive and still manages to win a lot of matches despite not playing brilliantly.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I mean, Machac definitely has like a high risk game. It's not ideal for
Yeah.
going deep in events. And yeah, that match you mentioned against Novak, and also actually the Minor, coincidentally, at the US Open, another match in a huge
Oh yeah.
event where like he just puts in a very flat performance for seemingly no reason. I don't think he was injured in either match. Simply comes out and things are not gluing together. So yeah, just to end this, I guess you already said that Machac is the favorite for you. So what is your like more or less prediction for this encounter? What are you expecting from the final?
Honestly, I think it's going to be a quite close two-setter in this one. I'm actually, not discredit to Davidovich. I think he's a great player, but I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Machac. So if it's not a big, pressure filled moment for him, I feel like two quite close sets is going to be how it ends.
Yeah, more or less my opinion too. Like Machac has definitely displayed the stronger level throughout the week. That's not always the guarantee. I guess with him we don't have that scar tissue in the finals yet either. And he just kind of has this vibe this week, Ahead of this Nakashima semi, I was also thinking,
Yeah.
okay, it's not gonna be that easy. Definitely Brandon can just surprise him there or something. But I just had the feeling that Machac, this is the week, He seems
Yeah.
to be playing at a level of confidence and a level of his confidence is matching the quality of his tennis, and that seems to be the trick. And maybe one more final question. 4 a.m. I think your time the final is going to be. Are you gonna be able to watch it?
I try. I try my best. That's what I
Yeah, I
say.
mean, I'll try as well. Mexican tournaments are pretty horrible for us in the European
Let's
time
say that
zone.
it's
I mean,
possible that I'll hear the alarm and turn it off without thinking, oh, there's actually the fine. It's possible, but I will try my best.
I watched the first semi yesterday, but that was 2 a.m. and it was a bit easier. Today, I think I
Yes,
have to
exactly.
sleep and then wake up at 4 a.m. or something like that.
Probably
I
we
don't know.
need,
I'll try.
two marathons from Santiago, two kind of 3 hours and a half semifinals in Santiago, and then it can become possible.
The Golden Swing often delivers that, so maybe we'll be lucky with Mario. But yeah, I'll try either. But I mean, I'll try as well. But that's indeed the reality. That especially because these Mexican events start so late in the evening,
Yeah.
local time, that for us they kind of become horrible. But anyway, yeah, thank you, Mario. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
let's look forward to that final.